Myself, Dr. Sunil Kumar, from JC Bose Technical Campus, Kumar University, Nainital. Today I am going to take up one session on event handling in Java as well as displaying text and image in window using swings. So, our objective are how to handle events using Java language and how to use different event classes in Java, as well as our objective is to display text and images in window using Java. And here we are actually using swings. So first of all, we must know what is event handling. As we know, many of the events are being generated by applet. They are being passed to the applet by the user, and there are number of events which are being generated by the users, and here in response to those events applet respond like pressing keyboard, pressing mouse. So there are many events are there. So event handling is basically it's a core programming languages. It's a mechanism which control event and decide what should happen if an event occurs. So here we have one mechanism, we call it event handler. When event handler which is executed when the event got occurs. Now Java uses a delegation event model to handle these events, and this provide the standard mechanism to generate and handle the events. Now what is delegation event model? This is a modern approach for handling events, and there are few terms like source which generate event and send it to one or more listener which actually waits for event until it receive. When it receive the event, actually listener process the event and send some response, then return. So every listener must register with the source to get notification regarding the event. So this is a diagram for delegation event modeler. We have event sources, listener object, listener interface. We will come to know one by one these terms which are being listed in this diagram. So event, as I told you, event which is defined as a signal to program, means which shows something has happened. So we can say change in the state of object is known as event. Means event takes state of the object from one state to the another, and these changes are known as state of sources or list of resources or sources. Sorry. Then events are generated in the result of interaction with the graphical user interface components. Event may be pressing a button, clicking the mouse, entering character from keyboard, selecting item from list, scrolling the page, etc. And these events are supported by Java AWT event package. Why we call it delegation model? Because it hides the actual user interface from the coding. Events, there are maybe events which are not being directly caused by interaction, like when timer got expire, counter exceeds a value, software hardware failure. In that case also event got occurred or event got generated. Now source is an object, and what the purpose of source is? Source is basically responsible for providing information of the occurred event to its handler. Handler, Java provide classes for source object. Events which are generated from source, there may be, as we told, they are made from buttons, checkbox, list, like entering character from the keyboard, menu items, choice, scroll bar, text component, window. They are responsible for generating events. Now listener, this is also called event handler, and this is responsible for generating the response to an event. And every listener must be registered with the event to get the notification. And each of the listener represent interface which are responsible for handling events. In point of view of the Java implementation, listener is also an object. Event sources. Sources which generate more than one type of event. And a source must register with the listener to get the notification about the specific type of event. When it received, it responds to or then return, and it, that means it gives response. Event sources are usually components, and they can be other kinds of object too. Like event can have multiple components, multiple event listener registered on it, like buttons in Windows. Event representation. As we told in earlier slide, every event is represented by object, and every event is subclass of event object. And listener is also object which can be notified when it get occurred on a component. Event listener, few points are more there over there. Method which receive and process the event are defined in set of interfaces, and they are found in java.awt.event class. Like mouse motion listener interface define two methods. One for receiving the notification when mouse is dragged or moved. Event listener is a common interface which having all event listener interface, like for to listen for action event class. This is the class which is responsible for implementing the interface action listener, which is in turn implementation of event listener. Now there are two types of events. One is called foreground, other is called background. Foreground events which require user interaction to generate, and they may be interaction due to some component in graphical user interface, and interaction are nothing but clicking on button, like scrolling, pressing a character, scroll bar, cursor, movements, etc. Background events, they do not require interaction from end user, like operating system interrupts, hardware software failure, timer expire, timer counter expire, or they may be operation completion. These are the background events. Now, what is the syntax for registering a source with listener to get notification? We have different classes which provide registration method. One is called add type listener. This is a type represent the type of event. Then, for example, key event, use add key listener to register. Another is for action event, we use add action listener to register. Some general event sources are hash button, checkboxes, hash button, hash window, check. So general format, this is a general form of adding listener to an event source. Public void add type listener type event E. Type is the name of the event. E is the reference to the event listener, to whom it is being it has been registered earlier. Event classes. So there are number of classes which represent events in the core Java or for event handling mechanism. At the root of Java event hierarchy, we have event object, which is java.util, and it is super classes of all events, and we can represent the one of the construction over here like this: event object src. Src is a object which generate the event. This event, that is source. Event classes. Event contains two methods, get source and toString. Get source returns the source of event, and general format is object get source. ToString means string equivalent of the event. Then we have AWT event, define the Java AWT package, again subclass of the event classes. So we have number of event classes are there. We have action event, focus event, input event, item event, key event, mouse event, text event, window event. Now, first of all, we will take up action event class. Action event class is the first higher level event class. What it does, it signify the user is doing something with a component, like such as a button. Whenever we select button, like or list an item or choose an item or menus item or press the return key in the next text field, action event passes through the events queue looking for the listener. Action event has three constructor. We have action event object src, int type, string, cmd. Here src is the reference to object source which generated this event, and cmd type of event which is specified by type of event. There are other form also of the constructor. Here we have argument modifier which indicate keys were pressed when the event was generated. When parameter specify when the event occurred. Action event is passed to action listener. One of the instance of the action event class is passed to the action listener when some action event occurs. Then we use get source method to determine which component source the event. Since listener is registered with an event handler with more than one component. So this is one of the example over here. Here, whenever we press click listener, here we have click listener class which is registered with two buttons, button 1 and button 2. Get source method is issued on the action performed. Then focus. This is again a low level event which indicate component has gained or lost the input focus. This low level input event is generated by component such as text field. And again, event is passed to the focus listener or focus adapter object which is registered to receive the events using components. Add focus listener method. So here focus adapter object implement focus listener interface. Then few features are there also. Every such listener object gets focus event when event occurs, like got focus or lost focus. So here no default method are used for focus events. they are dealt with the handler event method of the container of the component or subclass of the component. Focus event class continued. Again, there are few points out there. So we have two level of focus events. One is permanent and temporary. Permanent focus changes event occur when focus on directly move from one component to another through call request focus or user uses tab key to traverse components. Temporary focus changes events when focus is temporarily lost for component as the indirect result of another operation, such as window deactivation or scroll bar drag. So there is one example of there is some different type of constructor which are used with the focus event class. Focus event component src in type. Here src again source reference to the component that generated the event, and type of event is referenced by type, and there are other is temporary flag to set true if the focus event is temporary, otherwise it is permanent. Next class is input event class. Here this is an abstract input subclass of component event and superclass for component input event. And here there are two subclasses. One is called key event, other is called mouse event. Input event defines several integers, represents any modifier which control key like being pressed, which is associated with the event. This is the root event class for all component level input events. When these input events are delivered to listener before they are processed, normally by source when they are originated, when they are generated. And this class allow listener and component subclass to consume the event so that source will not process them in their default manner. Like consuming mouse pressed events on button component will prevent the button from being activated. Here it deactivates, here it hides the actual processing. Input event class, they generally carry three pieces of information. One is event type, other is location of the mouse or pen, or when the event occurred. Here modifier information include like when mouse or pen buttons are currently pressed, and whether control shift alt command key are also processed at the time. Next is item event class. This is again another higher level input class. What it does, it wraps all the events that occur when user selects a component, like action event. Whenever a user selects a checkbox or choice list item or menu item or check some menu item or item event passes through event queue looking for listener. Since there is only one type of item event, there are two subtypes also there. We call it selected or deselected. So here this item event is generated when checkbox or list item is clicked or when a checkable menu item is selected or deselected. So here this item event is generated when we select some list item, or when we click some menu item, or when we click checkbox, then item got selected or deselected depending on the previous selection or deselection. So this is a lower level event which is generated by component object when key is pressed, released or typed. So this event is passed to every key listener or key adapter object when registered to receive such object using component add listener method these listener object get key event when event occurs. So we have two separate key events are there. One is called key action, other is called key action release. They are function and arrow key, while key press and key release are for the remaining control and alphanumeric keys. Then next class is a mouse event class. This event when mouse action is occurred in a component, and this is considered to occur in particular component if and only if mouse cursor is over the unobscured part of the component bound when action happens. So if some part of the component is obscured, it won't get work. Component bound the obscure part of the component by visible component children by menu or top level window, and this event is used for both the mouse events like click, enter, exit, then motion events like moves and drags. So mouse event is basically subclass of input event. One of the constructor form is mouse event component src int type long when int modifier int x int y int clicks boolean trigger pop-ups. Here it defines two events like when the mouse is dragged or when the mouse is moved. Advantage of event handling is it is well suited for the object oriented programming environment. Disadvantage is event can only be handled by component from which it is originated or by one of the container of the originating component. So for handling events we have to register, we must either subclass of the component which receive the event or create handle event method at the base container. Now this is one of the example here for event handling. If we press on some button over here, it does some action over there. So basically purpose to here is to create an event. So here this code is over there for the same creating the button, then on pressing the button it is used to does some work like entering a name and then merging those names with your, then it get output when we press the button. So here output is like username, password, then login. This when we press login, it gets it into the some other screen, that is it get into the, this is the part of the event handling. So next topic is displaying image in Swing application. So Swing is used to create GUI application in Java. We have taken up in the earlier session also. So here API application programming interface which comes with the various component to create highly interactive desktop application in Java. Here we use Swing to create desktop application for enterprise. So we have methods which is used for displaying the image like drawing image, img, int x, int y, img observer. This is method is used to draw an image, and here this image is drawn at the top left corner of the coordinate xy coordinate in the graphics. Then set size, int height, int width. This method is used to set the height size of the frame. Then set visible boolean be yes or no, pass this boolean value to display the image. Then get control panel. This is used to content pane in which GUI component will be added. This is the code over here for displaying image on a frame. So like we have feature of Java over here, we can display this image using Java Swing apps over here. So using Java JText field. We have various commonly used constructor are there. JText field, this is for displaying text. JText field, string text, int column. So we have taken one example over here for welcome tutorial, AWT tutorials. This is one of the code for the displaying text in the application using swings over here. So this is displaying swings app, displaying text in swings. Learning outcome will, here you will get to know how to handle these events using Java, and here learner will able to use different event classes in Java, and they will also able to display text and image in window using Java. Thank you.